Hey, I'm Mike, and this is part 1 of my much demanded review of the show Transformers Beast Wars. So sit back and enjoy this review, as it will hopefully gear you up for the mayhem that will explode into theaters this week. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking about the newest Transformers movie, Revenge of the Fallen. Okay, so let me tell you that I'm a huge fan of the Beast Wars for many reasons. This is the show that brought Transformers back from the dead in a big way, and added dozens of changes that would become series conventions from then on, many of which are parts of the new Transformers movies. So Beast Wars appeared in 1996, a full 5 years after Generation 1 faded away, and ran for 3 seasons until 1998. There were 52 episodes made, and the show was produced by Mainframe Entertainment. Yes, the same amazing people who brought us Reboot, one of the greatest animated creations to ever hit the TV screen. So as you may know, or have guessed, it was all CGI. And let me tell you, nothing on television has come close to the level of detail that Beast Wars and Reboot have achieved in their day. This show has aged very well. Not only did Beast Wars have stunning animation, but it had real story writers penning the episodes, and the focus on quantity over quality from Transformers G1 was gone. Every character brought in was fleshed out, and rarely was one wasted. It wasn't merely about selling toys this time, though the action figures were almost perfectly made to represent the characters on the show. I attribute this to them having to, really figure out the transformations for the CGI, and using those virtual maps for the toy factory. Now keep in mind, I'm not bashing Transformers Generation 1. That show rocked. And I know there are lots of people who never felt animal modes were legit like the vehicle modes of Generation 1, but I feel this is nonsense. G1 had Insecticons, Dinobots, Ravage, lots of animals. They were just totally metallic. Beast Wars is a true sequel that builds on Generation 1 and runs on a few evolved story principles. This show takes place 300 years after the Great War of the first series, and Energon is more scarce. Plus, with the passage of time, Transformers have become more advanced. So, they've shrunk in size to conserve power usage, much like modern computers, and are now able to fully blend in on planets that do not have machinery, only animal life. It makes perfect sense. If the universe is riddled with life forms, it's very likely that they would have to be prepared for landing on a planet that do not have vehicles. So the organic beast modes have a greater purpose. They allow them to eat in order to produce energon and act as a protective coating while their internal systems repair. When the series opens, the Maximals and Predacons, yes, the descendants of the Autobots and Decepticons, are engaged in battle and crash land on a planet that is rich with energon. So rich, in fact, that a few megacycles, or minutes, of exposure would fry the robotic system. So now, they aren't just robots in disguise, but using their alternative forms for environmental protection. This changes everything, including the battles, which must now become more strategic as time is a factor. Okay, now that we cleared that up, let's talk about the leaders of the two crews and their motivation. Well, the show follows the same timeline as G1, and in a brilliant move it features the descendant of Megatron, leading the Predacon crew of the ship called the Dark Side. This new Megatron, we find out during the show, is at odds with the Predacon High Council's plan to wait for the right moment to strike and break a long-lasting peace with the Maximals, as they hold all the cards. Remember, the Autobots won the Great War, so he is a rogue, and far from the all-powerful commander that the G1 Megatron was. So Megatron's gathered a small crew and stole an artifact from Cybertron, the Golden Disc, and headed for Earth to carry out the final orders of the original Megatron. We only discovered this in the second season of the show. In the first season, we're led to believe that Megatron merely wanted energon. So the show is more complex than it leads on. So the original Megatron had attached the Golden Disc to a Voyager space probe near the end of the Great War, when he realized he would probably lose, and he sent it off into space. His message in a bottle was for surviving Decepticons to find Earth and go back in time using Transwarp Technology, which was only being developed and would be perfected in the near future. The mission was to go back and kill Optimus Prime and the crew of the Ark, therefore ending the Great War before it began. The present Megatron decides to risk everything he has with the Predacons in order to fulfill his orders of his namesake and the chance of becoming ruler of Cybertron in one move. So while Megatron fled a Maximal-controlled Cybertron, the nearest Maximal ship, called the Axelon, commanded by Optimus Primal, the descendant of Optimus Prime, was ordered to apprehend Megatron. The problem was that it was an exploration ship, not a battle cruiser, and was dragged through the Transwarp conduit before it could cripple the Dark Side. Both ships dealt each other a death blow as they crashed into the planet, and the Maximal ship, which was loaded with stasis pods, ejected the protoforms into orbit to ensure their immediate safety. So as the show began, we were given a plot device that would allow more robots to join the battle as pods fell. These protoforms, or blank transformers, could be reprogrammed. So the Beast Wars became a battle to have the most resources and manpower, and the show made clear that new reinforcements could not be built from scratch like in previous series. Each Transformer has a spark, like a soul that cannot be fabricated, and in light of the new movies, they were probably created by the Allspark. Okay, so that concludes part 1, in which I explained the premise of the series and the major changes Beast Wars brought to the table from Generation 1. So stay tuned for part 2, in which I really get into what made Beast Wars kick so much ass.